have quorum, so I will call to order the Finance Committee meeting of April 25th, 2023, and it is 6 p.m. The first item is approval of minutes, draft minutes of the April 11th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3. Public appearances, non-agenda item.
You want to approve the minutes?
I'm sorry, back up. Skipping ahead. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
We have a motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. Discussion, questions? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it, motion carries. Now moving on to public appearances, non-agenda item. Nobody is registered, no one registered. Scott? All right, thank you. Moving on to the finance, item 4, Finance Director Report. And Misty Dodge, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome to your first meeting of your new term on Finance Committee. Since you have all done this before, I'm not planning to go through the normal, this is what Finance Committee does. I won't send out the orientation email. If you have questions, obviously, you know where to find me. But since you've done this many times before, I figured I'd skip that part. Other things happening in the finance department. So today we had our second meeting on the CIP with the mayor. So we're moving through all of those requests by the department. The mayor's proposed CIP will come out in June. Next month's committee of the whole is where I kick off the council process. So I'll talk about the financial policies, the CIP policies, the initial levy limit kind of considerations that we need to know about as we go into all of these processes. So you'll see me next month there. The changes for the comptroller and treasurer are kind of working itself through, so we're working on getting all that paperwork lined up and ready to go. The ARPA report is due at the end of this week, so I'll have that on your guys' agenda for the next meeting, just for your review and information purposes. And then the best news of all, we have hired our new staff person. So if you recall, Robert was promoted to accountant. We needed to backfill his position, the account clerk too. And we have hired Jessica, who starts tomorrow. So looking forward to having her on board. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Misty. Questions for Misty? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, review of bills. First item is detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above for the period of April 1st through the 15th, 2023, totaling $261,342.28. Open it up to the committee. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Moving on to the next item. Item 5B, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 125037 through 125089 for the period of April 1st through the 15th, 2023, totaling $340,313.89. Questions from the committee? Hearing none, moving on to item 5C, detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending February 6th through February 6th, 2023, for the total amount of $79,789.08. Questions, discussion? Yes, Alder Gephardt.
It's mostly out of curiosity. I saw all the drone charges and there was a pilot's exam. Is that up and running? Have we been using that, or is that just a new pilot?
So I know we've been using it for training. I guess I don't know if we've used it other than that.
I'm not sure to what extent it may have been deployed in the field, but yes, we have been getting a number of folks through multiple departments with their pilot's license, and they have been certainly doing training related to the licensing, and we're in the final stages of some policy review items.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, additional questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5D, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending February 6, 2023. Total dollar, $193,829.18. Questions from the committee? Hearing none, moving on. Item 5E, detailed review of P-card transactions for $10,000 and above for the cycle ending March 6, 2023. Total dollar, $79,815.40. Questions from the committee? All right, moving on to our last item, 5F, review of P-card transactions for the cycle ending March 6, 2023. Total dollar, $195,709.87. Questions from the committee? Hearing none, we will move on to the action items. Action item 6A. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-56-23, approving 2023 spring tree planting plan?
I move approval.
All right. Motion for approval made by Alder Gerhart. I'll open it up or I'll turn it over to, I believe, Scott Endo, correct?
Yep.
All right, Scott, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. This is our annual spring tree planting plan. We had 210 total trees that will be planted. Anna did the work, and we ended up with 5 qualified bidders, which we're really happy with the low bid coming from SRB Trees for $51,450. And we have worked with CRP Trees in the past, and we're satisfied with their performance.
Very good, Scott. I'll open it up for discussion. Committee, any discussion, questions? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to action item 6B. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-71-23, approving dog playground improvements in Crescent Crossing Outlot 11? And this was postponed from the April 11th, 2023 meeting.
I move approval.
All right. Alder Wheeler has motion for approval. And who will speak to this? Scott, are you speaking to this one as well?
I can, unless if Tim wanted to, I can certainly address it. Why don't I? Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Scott, it doesn't matter. I can or you can. I can take it.
Sure.
Just 1 second.
I'm here for support, Tim, if you need it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll jump in real quick and say that the condition that wasn't completed, which is why we postponed it last time, that has been met. So we are comfortable, staff is comfortable with you taking action on it tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Misty.
So the developer for Crescent Crossing has requested the city accept the dog playground park amenity improvements bid for Outlot 11 of their development. 3 bids were received, with the lowest bid from Mole Construction in the amount of $71,959.50. Staff and the Park Commission have reviewed the playground amenities and are in support of the park improvements, and basically looking for the approval to authorize the acceptance of the bid for mall construction in the amount of $71,959.50.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. I'll open it up for questions from the committee. Alder Gerhart, go ahead.
Just wanted to clarify that this money is coming from park improvement fees for the development, and we're basically just reducing what they owe rather than charging them. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, but is there more in park improvement fees on this development, or is this cover the whole amount?
There will be a balance remaining after if you recall, Outlot 7 and Outlot 11. This is the last piece of development of both of those outlots, and there will be dollars left over, which we're looking to use in the Stoner Prairie Park Plan implementation.
Great, thanks.
Randy?
Yes, Alder Wheeler, go ahead.
Scott, what is the capacity for this dog park? How many dogs can be in there at one time?
Yeah, it's relatively small, Jim. I would say, maybe, boy, it's hard to, I don't know if there's a formula, but probably 6 to 8 comfortably, probably, Jim.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, are there additional questions? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to our next resolution under action item 6C. Do I have a motion to move resolution R-72-23, approving a state municipal agreement to fund the purchase of 8 bus stop shelters?
I move approval.
All right. We have a motion for approval made by Alder Gerhart. And Misty, are you speaking? Oh, are you?
Tim will. Nope.
Tim will. I see you on full screen now, Tim, so.
Sure.
All right, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. The city desires to install 8 additional bus shelters. The city has programmed this project in the 2023 budget. We applied for and received funding approval from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, STP Urban Program, for the bus shelters. The state funding provides up to 80% of the construction costs, provided the local applicant funds the remaining 20%. So the state is providing funding in the amount of $140,000 or $140,800 for these 8 bus shelters.
Very good. I'll open it up for questions from the committee. Okay, hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the next action item, which is 6D. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-74-23, acceptance of Lacey Road and Seminole Highway intersection and Lacey Road reconstruction bids? And this was postponed from the April 11th, 2023 meeting.
I move approval.
All right, we have a motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. And Tim, I suspect you're speaking to this item as well?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
The city obtained competitive bids for construction of the roundabout at the intersection of Lacey Road and Seminole Highway, and also reconstruction of Lacey Road from this intersection west to Fitchburg Road. On February 28th, 2023, 4 sealed bids were received and publicly opened. Parisi Construction, LLC, was the low bidder at $8,119,401.38. And we found that their bid was in compliance with the bid specifications. And we're looking for approval of the award of the contract to Parisi Construction in the amount of $8,119,401.38 plus a 5% contingency of $406,420.04.
Very good. I'll open it up to the floor for questions to the committee. Questions? Alder Gerhart.
Tim, you talked about this at Transportation Transit a little bit. Can you talk about the budget and how this, because I mean, obviously the bids are pretty wildly all over the place, and my understanding is that this comes in under our original budget. Is that correct?
Yes, the contractor or the engineer's estimate for the project was, I believe, $10.5 million, and Parisi came in at $8.1 million. I believe the high bidder was over $10 million. So we had a wide range between the 4 contractors. So we were happy with the bid that came in.
And have we worked with Parisi Construction in the past?
Yes, we have worked with Parisi, and they have done a good job for the city in the past.
Great, thank you.
The one question I have, Tim, if this is approved this evening by finance and then by council, when do you anticipate this project moving forward?
We look to have the pre-construction meeting later this week and to have the contractor mobilized at the beginning of May. They're real hungry to get started on this project. So.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Additional questions from the committee? Yes, Alder Gerhart.
Since we're starting in May, is there going to be some updated information on the city website about road closures or what that looks like for the public?
Yeah, absolutely. Once when they start in May, a lot of it, the first couple weeks is paperwork, submitting shop drawings and coordination, reviewing schedules. So once we get their schedule, review and approve it, we'll list the important milestone dates on the city's website and also any detour information. The big push is to close that intersection after school's out. So the road closure is not going to start till once school's out of session. And then the next milestone for the contractor would be to have that intersection open prior to school starting in the fall.
Okay, very good. Additional questions? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the next action item of item 6E, do I have a motion to move Resolution R-76-23, approving purchase of 2022 streets pickup truck, and this is a direct referral.
I move approval.
All right. Alder Gerhart has motion for approval. And Tim, are you speaking to this item as well?
Yes.
All right, very good. Go ahead.
So Public Works has budgeted $36,250 for replacement of a pickup in 2024. However, the existing 2008 pickup truck that is to replace next year currently has a bad transmission. And to repair the transmission would be upwards of $4,000. Therefore, Mark Hodel, our street supervisor, looked around and found a existing 2022 Ford truck on Middleton Ford's lot that would cost us $35,632.50 this year to replace the 2008 pickup truck that has the bad transmission. So the Highway Capital Equipment Fund has sufficient funds for the purchase of this truck. So we're looking for approval to purchase the 2022 Ford F-250 work truck off Middleton Ford's lot in the amount of $35,632.50.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. I'll open it up to the committee for questions. All right, seeing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the next item of 6F. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-79-23, amending the 2023 TID number 15 budget, prepayment of the 2,500 Rimrock TID incentive?
I move approval.
All right, Alder Wheeler has motion for approval. And Misty, are you speaking to this item?
I am.
All right, go ahead.
So town TID number 2 was in existence when the city of Fitchburg absorbed a portion of the town. So that automatically transferred over to us and became TID 15. We do have one outstanding development incentive in that TID for 2,500 Rimrock. Included in the packet is a memo that talks about the risks of prepaying this incentive, as is recommended by staff, as well as kind of the benefits or the rewards of prepaying it. So that information is all in there. Basically, with the tax bills that were most recently issued, the money we're collecting now, I have enough cash to prepay this incentive in full. If this is approved, I will make that payment this week, including all of the accrued interest at that point, and then you'll start seeing resolutions for the affordable housing extension as well as the closure of TID 15. Ultimately, the city would like to end that TID since it was under kind of the old town model, and then there's discussion about do we create a new TID in that same area that would be more of a city of Fitchburg TID. If we move forward with that, council would be involved in that over the summer.
Okay, thank you, Misty. I'll open this item up for discussion. Discussion from the committee. Alder Gerhart.
I just want to double check. So this building already exists and is built and has commercial space and all of that, right? It's not a theoretical building.
Correct. No, it's an existing building but when it was theoretical, there was a TID incentive from the town, and then the city agreed to continue payments once it came to us. And so that's the portion that we are prepaying is what the city's obligation was after the absorption.
Great. So the risks you laid out, because when I first looked at them, those risks are more for an empty lot versus like this is a space that already exists that has commercial.
Well, so,
space.
I'm sorry, some of that first floor, I believe, is vacant at this point. So there is still they could change it at any point. So there's not that contractual obligation to do what they're currently doing. But it's not something that we really see as a big risk.
Got it. And then you use the term MRO several times. What does that stand for?
So MRO is a municipal revenue obligation. It's also a PAYGO, pay-as-you-go bond. It's just another way of saying the way that Fitchburg does the TID incentives, where we issue a bond and then we repay them as the increment is generated, including principal and interest. So those two phrases, PAYGO and MRO, are used interchangeably.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
The question I have is, you mentioned about the new TID in discussion over the summer. Are you anticipating a fall period of time that we would open a new TID, or what's the timeline that you anticipate?
So at this point, the joint review board, so council would see it, joint review board would see it, then council, and then joint review board again. So probably July and August would be kind of that action timeframe.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Discussion, hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. The next item is 6G. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-80-23, amending the 2023 budget in various funds, ARPA/TID closure investment plan projects?
I move approval.
All right, motion for approval made by Alder Gerhart. And Misty, you're speaking to this item as well?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So council adopted the updated ARPA and TID closure investment plan a couple of meetings ago now. There were a handful of projects that staff is recommending we move forward sooner rather than later. Rather than waiting for the 2024 budget, we start moving on them now. So those are all included in the packet. The blue box is the stuff that's ARPA funded. The green box is the stuff that's TID funded. And then the rest of it is all kind of accounting entries. So it's important from a budget amendment perspective and from my perspective, but the bulk of what you care about are in those two, the blue and the green box. So this includes the library chiller replacement, which we know we need to keep moving on, hopefully sooner. The water fountain at Belmar Park, that one looks a little weird because there's a negative and a positive. It's because it flipped from operating to capital since the cost is more than $10,000 now. Replacing the community center and senior center tables and chairs, the strategic plan for the city, the phase 2 of the FACT TV equipment in here in Chambers, as well as Genie Ceiling, the tennis courts at McKee Farms Park, the bike parking stalls for major city parks. This one is because we actually have the equipment already, but we need to get the pavement in order to get those installed. And then the hub and adjoining parcel stormwater improvements. So those were the ones that staff is recommending we move forward with now by budget amendment.
Very good. I'll open up the resolution for discussion. Yes, Alder Gerhart.
Thanks. I mostly have a question about, I haven't heard a lot about the strategic plan and what that process looks like, who would manage it, how it's distinct from the comprehensive plan and the staffing plan. I'm just a little curious about what some of those details are since we're going to move on it this year.
So staff requested the authorization to move these funds into the 2023 budget year to give us the flexibility, if staff capacity allows, to put out an RFP for consultants to submit proposals to help guide and facilitate the creation of a citywide strategic plan. One of the things that we think that a strategic plan will help prioritize what the city's, and more importantly, the city council and its residents' goals and objectives are, so that we can hopefully use that information to prioritize the work that we do as a council and as city staff. And we know that we're going to need some assistance in order to put that strategic plan together. So clearly, the council will be involved in assisting in the development of that plan as well, with the facilitation by a consultant.
Yeah, go ahead.
And would the planning department be in charge of that, or would it be your department? I'm just curious.
I suspect that it'll probably be housed in admin, would be my guess.
Okay.
So, yeah, yep,
Great, thanks.
you bet.
Randy?
Alder Wheeler.
Thanks, Chad, for that explanation. I like the idea of a strategic plan. I always like planning, and I think it's a good idea to actually get the community involved, to see what actually the community wants, and to see how long it would take to actually get there. So I think it's a good idea to actually start. I think Sun Prairie has a strategic plan, and other cities do strategic planning, which I think in the long run would probably let us make better decisions and possibly even save money.
Very good. Additional questions or discussion? All right. Thank you, Chad. All right. Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to our last action item under action item 6H. Do I have a motion to move Resolution R-83-23, approving First Amendment to Development Agreement with Promega Corporation, termination of agreement for repayment of non-developer costs, and the first restated amendment to subdivision improvement agreement?
I move approval.
All right. Motion for approval made by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, are you speaking to this?
Yeah, I can, sure, and then Tim can jump in if there's pieces he'd like to add.
Very good.
So when it comes to council, this will actually need to be voted on before the acceptance of the bids for Lacey Road and Seminole, because what these agreements do is it shifts the responsibility for those projects back to the city. So this is partially TID funded. There's been a variety of agreements back and forth where the responsibility of the project has shifted from the city to Promega, and then now it's coming back to the city. If this is approved, the Promega will provide us a check for what would have been their responsibility financially had they maintained the project under their umbrella. Once I have that check, I will issue the PAYGO or the MRO, the TID incentive, that would reimburse them for the amount of their costs under the existing development agreement. And then the city ultimately will be doing the road based on those construction bids that you just approved.
Very good. I'll open up open up the resolution for discussion to the committee. Alder Gerhart.
Thanks. I'm just curious about, so did we put this development agreement under, did we develop this before we knew we were going to reconstruct Lacey Road on this timeline? Or I'm just curious why this was required.
Yeah, so this has been an evolving project, I'll say. So when the TID was first created and the road was originally planned, the city was going to take care of part of it that was outside of Promega's land, and Promega was going to do the reconstruction of the part that was within Promega's land. Then we did that repayment of costs that said Promega was going to build the whole thing, and then we would reimburse them for what would have been our share. There's been a lot of delays between staff vacancies and other conditions, and now Promega would like to shift that responsibility back to us from a contract management perspective. So this is highly unusual. I'll say it's gone back and forth a few different times, but at this point I think we're ready to move forward, get the road done, and get it done.
And so they're basically issuing a payment of close to $3 million to support the road, and that's going to go into the account that pays for that a little over $8.5 million for the Lacey Road that we just approved.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we'll also have some additional design and construction observation and costs like that too, which will go towards paying that as well.
Wow, it's a big chunk of the budget. Yeah, thanks.
Very good. Additional discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. That concludes the action items. Moving on to item 7, announcements. 7A, our next meeting is scheduled for May 9th, 2023. Moving on to number 8, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move adjournment.
We have a motion for adjournment made by Alder Wheeler. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:29 p.m. Thank you.